Next lecture is about Hellraiser. We have three important guests. Nicholas Vince.
They're coming shortly.
Sorry, please come in
Come to the dark side.
Yeah, come to the dark side.
I have one of the love-legged speakers. I think I'm going to take them up for
Just something from me.
No.
Maybe first introductions. Barbara Wilde. Barbie, Nicholas Vince. And Simon Bamford.
And Sonia.
So, how long has it been since the three of you were together?
We were in Germany in November last year and the Weekend of Horrors.
And before that we were in Philadelphia at the Monster Museum. So we meet periodically at conventions.
We usually meet at airports and things.
And then say goodbye.
First question, that was a standard question, but how did you all get involved in the Hellraiser project?
Well, I was hugely successful.
You shouldn't laugh when he says that.
Obviously, because I'm very handsome. I did a production of King Lear at drama school. Nick and I were at drama school together 10 years ago.
After
After I saw that, we decided that we needed to go. No, we were at drama school together, and Clive Barker lived in the area where the drama school was, and I did a production of King Lear, and Clive came to see it, and asked to meet me afterwards, and so that's how I met Clive. And then I graduated. When I graduated from drama school, he asked me to join the Dog Company, which was a fringe theatre company he ran in London. We worked at the Cockpit, we went to Holland, the Netherlands, and the festival. But because it was fringe theatre, we weren't really making much money. Well, any money we did make, Clive spent on special effects and things. So we disbanded after a couple of years, and then after about 2 years later, I wondered how he was. I just rang him out of the blue to see how he was, to kind of catch up. And he said, I've just had these 2 screenplays made into movies and they were awful. And I persuaded the production company to let me direct the next one. Do you want to be in it? So I said, yeah. He said, it would be playing a monster. He said, there might be a little bit of makeup. Actually, because he's not so handsome, I need
I was very sort of aroused at, can you hear me okay without the mic? Yeah.
It's better if...
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Film. Please, film this. So so I did I went to a party, but I think it was shortly after I graduated from LP, and I met Clive. And he said, would you like to come and model for me? Apparently modelling involves taking your clothes off. So I modelled for Clive, and I ended up by modelling for... Because Clive had the books of Blood published. They then asked him to do covers, to make covers. So on the first cover, you can see me holding up a picture of Clive with a knife stuck in my head. And I think it's in volume 4, all my brains are open and it's got needles dropping into my head. That's his portrait of me. And then as soon as Simon, I just got a phone call one day saying exactly the same line. There may be a little makeup involved. That's how I ended up.
And to say how fun that makeup was, they didn't really have character names for the makeups when we did the screen tests, and they called yours Poor Bastard.
Poor bastard. Because when I went to have the makeup, they start with taking a life cast of your head. Basically, they cover your face in a thing called alginate, which is taken from seaweed to get the fine detail. Then they cover that with plaster of Paris. You have 2 straws up your nose so you can breathe. It takes about half an hour. was able to do
I
that.
thought that was your cook, David.
It was even worse when they did the body cast from there all the way down to the knees, probably the plastic pants as well. Yes. But when I went to that, Bob Keane from Image Animation said, "Oh, so you're poor bastard, you won't be able to see much." He said, and he put his fist in front of my eyes and said, "That's how much you'll be able to see." I couldn't see that much. I literally had a pinhole in the makeup. I could see about that much of the floor. So the chattering Cenobite was led around by the hand everywhere on set.
That was the same experience you had in the first one, wasn't it, Simon?
Yes, thank you, Barbie. Yes. Actually, one of the Image Animation was the name of the prosthetic company that did the makeups. And when we went to have our life casts done, they're supposed to destroy the life casts once they've done them. But they got one full body cast of Mick Jagger that they'd done. And so we saw Mick Jagger naked. We're not actually there.
So how did you get into the movie?
I'm going to tell you. I went to see the first film and it scared me to death, but I love the character of Julia. So obsessed, she would kill men so she could get her dead lover's skin back. I love that kind of dedication. And but then I got the call, and they said, I think because of my mime training or something, I was a trained mime artist, and maybe they thought I would be more patient under the makeup process. Cue laughter. Yeah. And I almost didn't go because the Chatterer character disturbed me so much, and that's who I thought I was going to play. So I thought, oh, I can't do that, I'm claustrophobic. But then it turned out it was a female Cenobite, so I did go to the audition, talked to Tony Randall, and he said, yeah, you're playing this character that, this Cenobite, it's a word that Clive made up, and I said, no, you're wrong. Rule number one of going to an acting audition, don't contradict the director. And I said, no, it's I actually looked it up in the dictionary, and his assistant ran and got a dictionary. I said, Barbie's right. And so to punish me, he gave me the part. Maybe it's because I fit the other actresses who costume, because it was the same costume. No, was it?
No, they remade the costume.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought...
The
No, it's...
were destroyed after the first one.
Oh, that's not what I was told by the costume girl.
All of them were destroyed.
Yeah, they got the insurance money to remake the costumes. Basically, the costumes from the first movie ended up in a skip. And so the costumes, there is a gentleman who now has the costumes from the second movie, which Simon and I photographed. You were there as well, when we did that. But it's in an empty records, yeah. So those are the costumes from the second movie, not the first movie.
And on the second film, Tony Randall, the director, was very detailed in his direction because you asked him about
I think he might have been a bit annoyed because my plane was late because I'd gone to visit my parents in the United States. And my plane had been delayed 24 hours, so I basically landed in Heathrow, got a cab to Pinewood. So I think I was only an hour late or something, but in the makeup process, and it's 6 o'clock in the evening, and I said, oh, hi, Tony, what's my motivation? Family. So I don't know why I said that. And he said, you're dead. That was it. So... But that's how I got the part. I went for an audition, basically. And actually, I was very polite, but he's lovely. Have you reconnected with Tony?
On Tony Randall on Facebook? Yes.
No, I know you're on Facebook.
Yeah. Tony's on Facebook.
Tony Randall's on Facebook.
Yeah.
He'll be your friend.
He's a Facebook part. No, I'm only kidding.
No, that's it.
Question two, the makeup and costumes, how much were you involved in creating of the looks of the characters?
Not at all. Well, not at all.
It's art, it's not, well, it's the makeup was designed to be on my face, I suppose. So But you know, obviously the original designs were they Bob's or Clive or?
It was a mixture.
It was a mixture.
Mine was Nigel Booth is the artist who did mine. Who did yours? Don't ask me that. Jeff Portis did Pinhead. John Cormican did the female Cenobite. The Chatterer Cenobite in the original designs had sharpened teeth. But that didn't work. It made him look a bit too fish-like and not human. So they replaced those and they took molds of my teeth. But part of the reason, the look of the Chatterer, the whole thing of the skin, pulled the lips, facial surgery. Yeah, I was born ugly. Yeah, so.
Whereas I was born very handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were wrong.
And how was it working with Clive Barker and with Tony Rattle? What was the difference between the two directors?
Yeah, huge. To be honest, once we were in the makeup, Nick and I, we had false teeth super glued onto our own, denture glued for our own. Plus, we were blind, deaf, and dumb. So you couldn't really communicate with the director. Whereas Clive would come in and help us with bottles of Jack Daniels and things. It was really difficult to, when we couldn't communicate outwards, and we could only just hear what they were saying to us inwards. So it was a difficult time.
It was tough.
So the first time we all went on set on the Hellraiser, they didn't really know that Nick and I were blind. So they were chatting to us away, saying, "Oh, this we want to do this, we want to do that, and we'll walk over there and do this, and look at this person here." And we were kind of going, blind. We're going, "Yeah, what? No, you just you could tell they were getting really frustrated with us." And next thing we knew, we get action. It's like, so Nick walked off one way, I walked off the other. Completely wrong direction. We haven't got a clue where we were going.
There's a fabulous photograph of Clive holding the box with the 4 Cenobites around it, and you'll notice I'm looking in entirely the wrong direction, because I have no idea what's going on around me at the time. But so eventually, once they did learn what it was, they were really good. I remember when the Chatterer makes the first entrance, because of camera angles and so on, when he comes through the wall, I'm not walking on the floor, I'm walking at an incline. And I said, "Oh yeah, he needs to start 6 inches higher, about 3 feet away." The next thing I hear is sawing wood, hammering hammers, and there's a ramp for me. And then they put a sandbag in front of so I know when to stop. So once they got the idea, they were really supportive about the way. On the second movie, there was the moment. In the second movie, they come through the walls, there's these really bright lights behind us. And so I'm standing with Doug, waiting to come through the wall with this big bright light behind me. And a gentleman called Roy Buddyford says, "Nick, are you hot?" I said, yeah. I said, "I think we'll move you. You're smouldering." So they did move. So they did take care of us.
We were covered in KY jelly. The kind of gooey look was KY jelly.
Yeah, it was KY jelly. And to attach the dentures to the mask, it was condoms. It was cut up condoms held on with super glue.
It was in
It's
our
amazing,
contract.
yeah.
It was in our contract that we had to have sexually built into the.
Well, it's amazing the innovation you have to go through just to get, you know, the kind of things that you see. But I was amazed when I was covered in KY. I didn't have it in my mouth, but no, I didn't need it done. My lips were blue.
Next.
Tony Randall was great, nice enough. But I think Doug Bradley said something that's really kind of interesting, that nobody really realized, except maybe Clive, how powerful the imagery of the Cenobites were. And he said that when he went to America and did the third one, he suddenly, people were giving him respect, like, well, it's Pinhead, in a way that we were just kind of sort of like secondary characters sometimes. But of course the audiences didn't think that at all. And so he said that it was a very different thing doing the third film, because they suddenly realized that it was Pinhead, the Cenobites, that had captured people's imaginations, because he just recently said everybody thought it was going to be the Julia character that would run and run. So we were doing this one scene, I remember, and we had to walk through anchor chains. It was near the end. And I noticed that all the chains had been tied up around the camera. And you got a hook in your mouth. And the chains were, they were moving, and Doug got hit in the forehead on a pin. Luckily it didn't go in, it just went like off. But he was a bit shook by that. And I said, well, how come all the chains are tied up around you guys? And one of the cameramen said, because we're more important than you are. That wasn't very nice. But hey, it was very interesting, but it was kind of an arduous shoot, I do remember, because of the makeup process. I mean, how long did it take you, Nick and Simon, to get your costumes on?
No, not long, because it was leather. It was leather, and then we had these kind of skirt things. So 20 minutes.
Is that all?
I think in total it was an hour, but I can't. Because I mean, Simon and my makeup, unlike Barbie, wasn't glued to our face. We had the dentures put in. So Ashley Lawrence always said to me, the one thing she remembers is because the denture, to keep the dentures in makes you salivate. So Simon
and you were choking. You had to, so you constantly had to go to swallow this saliva that you were producing. Otherwise, you just choked to death.
Well, my makeup took 4 hours to put on, and then half an hour for the lace up into the costume. So it's tiring, those kind of things, and so that's why,
I found out actually that when you said the costume was 20 minutes, the makeup was about an hour. But I found out recently, so that you didn't see me underneath the makeup, they blacked out my mouth. And that's all they needed to black out, so it was the only bit of me that could possibly be seen by accident. And they admitted, I met them recently, their makeup artists, they admitted that the black around my mouth was getting bigger and bigger. There's a picture on Facebook where half my face was covered in black makeup. And it was a running joke that they were doing, it's happening. Just to answer your original question, Clive was like a kid in a sweet shop, being allowed to make a movie behind the camera, and he was learning so much about the cameras, the lenses, everything that he could. So he had so much energy, whereas Tony Randall, I felt, was more of an experienced director who kind of came in. Was it?
Yeah, he'd grown up in Hollywood.
He was a producer.
Tony was a producer for New Line Cinema, and had literally physically grown up in Hollywood around movies and stuff.
I spotted this one comment, maybe you guys can, Clive said on his Facebook page the other day, he said, when I went to do Hellraiser, I went to the library, they had 2 books on directing, and they were both checked out. Did you hear that one? He said, fuck, I don't even have a book. What am I going to do? And it's just so cute and funny, Well, the directing books are checked out. But he managed, he did a great job.
This was before the internet, you have to understand. If the library book was out, you couldn't get the book unless you bought it.
Please feel free to beat me out, by the way, this is going, because I said the F word.
Oh, okay.
Pretty groovy.
In the second movie, Pinhead gets a sort of a backstory, but what's the backstory on the other Cenobites?
No idea. Fat guy? I don't know, I thought about it recently because of these wonderful puzzle boxes that Eric Gross is doing.
Yeah.
And I had to think a little bit more about what Butterball's backstory might have been. I was told that he was the torturer of the group, hence why he had this kind of apron of weapons. He was the one who would like physically tear people apart. No idea. I mean, when we reverted back to who we were, there was a bit where we reverted back to who the characters were supposed to be. They got a fat guy in a bald head, so I suppose that was him.
Yeah, I was turned into some leggy brunette, which I wasn't. Very disappointing. But then, everybody else thought you were a child. But can I just mention, but when both of us, well, you didn't do a story that was based on the Cenobite. For Hellbound Hearts?
Right. But I've done other backstories.
Yes.
For the Chatterer. When the second movie came out, I wrote a story called Look, See, which was my version of a story about that. I've recently written another version as to how a boy ended up in hell. But Clive's original thought, in the same way that Simon was the torturer of the group, Chatterer was the dog. And originally what Clive had imagined was that he'd be able to crouch down and leap up and be like a chattering monkey, and he'd be a lot more aggressive and moving. But when Clive saw the costume, when we did the first costume test, when I crouched down, when you can see it on you guys, when you bend your knee with your trousers, your denim pokes out at the side, and the leather was doing the same thing. It was really obvious it was a costume, not skin. And he said, no, it doesn't work. And then we discovered I couldn't hear, speak, or see when I was wearing it. So it became a very controlled, rehearsed performance. So that kind of changed. But originally, Chatterer was the dog of the group.
That's really interesting because in Clive's theatre work that he'd done beforehand, monkeys and dogs were very prominent. They were very important in everything that he did.
Look, see, wasn't he a stand-up comedian?
In Look See, he was a stand-up comedian, and it was fun to write. It was a short story I published in Fear magazine, and it was me having a go at the producers for not letting me be me when Chatterer changed back. Really, if I'm really honest, it was just me having a go at film producers. It was a fun story.
Well, in the Hellbound Hearts anthology, which was some short stories written by different people, and we all were basing it on the Hellbound Heart novella, very firmly not the movie for certain rights issues. And but the editor Paul Kane asked me if I could just write a story from a female perspective. And then Gary Tunnicliffe had this idea that maybe the female Cenobite had been a nun in her previous life. So I spun on from that.
Did you discuss that with Gary Tunnicliffe?
I asked him. Yeah, I said, is it cool if I could use the nun idea?
Right.
But
when did Gary tell you the nun idea? Have you just met him as a colleague?
no, I just read it on Wikipedia. It was the backstory of the female Cenobite on the back of the toy box. And somebody said, oh, it was Gary who come up with the idea.
Oh, the Necker toys.
Yeah. So when I wrote it wasn't of the female Cenobite, it was a story of a female Cenobite, because we had to be careful about the rights issues. But it was basically, she was a sex-starved nun. And she got so tired and so destroyed about her life, because she didn't want to be in a convent, that she had read I think I made up some bizarre guy who was a friend in Gilles de Rais, and the writings. And she didn't use a box, she used other things like prose and menstrual blood and all this stuff, and she called the Cenobites and got more than she bargained for, but she was thrilled. So that was that particular backstory. So it's sort of it's not the female Cenobite, but it's a female Cenobite. And if you want to read the further adventures of Sisters Lees, you can go to the followers of Pandorix.com, where I think both of our stories are. Is your story up yet?
No, we're still working on the road.
Oh, right.
I think if you asked Clive that question, he'd probably say that there were probably clues in the way that we were all mutilated, so your neck was opened up and your And I was fat. With a big olive belly, yeah.
Which you fingered and brutally.
Yeah, like I had this big hole in my belly full of blood and like I kind of played my innards. And actually it was one of the few bits that got censored, I don't know about here, but in the UK, because they said it was crossing a line. So.
Fingering the entrails.
Fingering, yeah.
Fingering
Yeah,
your
but-
own entrails.
Yeah, how did you get away with it now? Anyways.
No, no. I suppose the audience has some questions too. Is there anybody?
Yes, one there.
Just a question for Wilde Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I read in the first movie you don't have eyes, but in the second you did.
Yeah.
Was it really because the costume was troubling you? Because there's also a story about how Shepherd was rewarded for his loyalty, and that's why he gave him eyes, but it's not ring, I suppose.
There's two reasons. I whinged a lot about not being able to see. No, the real story is, in the second movie, the way it was written, Chatterer was a lot closer to what Clive had originally imagined. He was the thug of the, he was the hitman of the group. He was the one who was actually going to physically do violence to people. They realised I couldn't really do that if I can't hear, speak or see. So the idea was that he gave me eyes to be able to chase people down corridors and so on. We filmed some of that sequences, including the bit where the skin is peeled off the eyes. There were two big, they looked like back scratches. Those things just peeled back the skin from the eyes. It was filmed, it was never used. There was one sequence that he runs down the corridor, he misses, somehow he ends up in a lift, and his hand is trapped in a lift. And the lift doors, and you see the hand going down, unable to get out of the lift. Now this wasn't my hand, it was a prosthetic hand. And as it went down, the fingers did that. Completely accidental, they didn't use it. I don't want to show, but it also kind of diminished the Chatterer. I think one of the reasons he's so disturbing, he approaches Kirsty, Ashley Lawrence, and puts his fingers in her mouth, which is sold by Ashley. I couldn't see what I was doing. And I, if I could see fingers coming to my mouth, I could close my mouth. She goes, so technically that's why we did it. I watched the movie the first time recently, in a long time, where actually there's a moment, because you don't see it, it's only at the very last moment you stop and you see the Chatterer coming out through the chains. And you think, oh, it's the Chatterer. Oh, the Chatterer's got teeth, eyes. The Chatterer can see now. So it feels just, and of course he's used in the later movies as well as a dog. So, but that's how he got eyes, nearly. Yeah?
More questions?
You have your only chance. Go.
You already told me you could see it.
First, no, there was no eye holes at all, so nothing at all. It was like sensory deprivation for 40 minutes a day. But on the second film, I asked them, because they were like £10,000 these makeups, they cost a fortune. I asked them if the character was going to take his dark glasses off at any point, and they said no. So I actually gouged holes. Only little ones, but little holes in the makeup, because I just couldn't bear the idea of sitting in isolation for hours. I vandalized,
I just want to point out that I can see perfectly. and I was really pleased because back in those days, Doug had quite painful, I think, contact lenses in, and they didn't make me wear them. So.
But it's worth pointing out that with the Chatterer, the makeup just kind of folded around my face because it was there was a slit down the back. Hi, Matty, nice microphone. so it just kind of folded on. But Simon, they just pulled it. It's like pulling a condom over their
It
head.
was like a condom, and there was a point, it took 3 of them, because it was skin tight inside, it was made to cover my face completely, but it took 3 of them to pull it down, and because the neck was even thicker of these folds of fat, there was a point where my nose and my mouth were covered completely, and I always got to that point and I thought, please don't stick here, I'd suffocate to death in this mask. But then they did.
With my makeup, of course, it was glued on with medical adhesive. And the first day after filming, at that point because I'd been on a plane all night, I'd been up for, how much was that up to? 24 hours, 18 hours. And they were taking it off, and my skin was bright pink. I went, ooh, my skin's pink. And I went, yeah, that's oxygen starvation. I thought, nice!
The skin at the end of it, filming it was awful treatment.
I had to get a facial. Yeah, well, the lady who did my facial just went, oh my god, your skin. So, but it was worth it, wasn't it, guys?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where?
Sorry.
I have a question for Nicholas. Actually, it's a question for Mark. He's not there. In Night Bridge, you played this very bizarre creature called Kinski.
Yes.
Any reference to Klaus Kinski?
I've no idea. It's not the makeup that was originally intended. I don't know, has anyone seen the book called The Nightbreed Chronicles? If you come across it, it's a great book because Clive, whilst we were filming and afterwards, wrote backstories for the main characters, including monsters you only glimpse. And one of them is called Otis and Clay, and it's 2 faces in one. That was originally going to be my makeup, but it just didn't read well. It looked too false. You couldn't really see expression and so on. So they suddenly changed it to make Kinski into this crescent moon face. I don't know if Clive had been looking at Mac tonight or not, but that's what it looked like. And as I say, the backstory of how Kinski got his face and his solution, etc., that was all written whilst we were doing it.
Are there chronicles on Kenny's Hawaii?
I'm not sure, I'm amazed, I keep on coming across, people do produce them at conventions, they look brand new, I believe they're out of print. They were published by Titan Books. They're great. The book then became my Bible when I wrote the Nightbreed comic. Because I wanted to write Hellraiser comics and Nightbreed comics, and it was great because I could just take all the backstories that Clive had already written and start weaving them into the characters that I was using in the last 4 comics that I wrote for the series. So I don't think it's Klaus Kinski. It could be. But that's how he came to be.
My backstory on Nightbreed was the boy was so impossibly beautiful. Honestly, that the angels had to come down and tattoo him to give him some form of fault. Are you Clive?
Sorry, that's just making him insufferable for the rest of the day. But it's true.
Questions? No? Then I have one last question. What are you currently working on?
I just did a film in Derby for Russell Charrington called Riley about a jolly piece about a man who's recently widowed, lost his wife, and whose dog has run away, and his search for this dog. So yeah, I spent the whole time feeling very sad, close to tears. It was a really jolly filming experience. Earlier this year I did the voiceover for a character called Commander Elgin on an animated cartoon called The 11th Hour, Jericho, which hopefully will come out next year. And I did a film last year called Dead of the Night with Tony Todd, the Candyman, which opened in the UK last week.
moved on and did casting, and then I went on to writing. My first novel has been published by Comet Press. It's getting some fantastic reviews. Thank you, thank you. Fangoria has called me one of the finest purveyors of erotically charged horror around. Wow, you know, so it's great. I mean, but it,
Barbie has a very lucky boyfriend.
no, he would come in, and I just finished writing. See, I'm a small girl from Trailgate still, and it's like, I've written this stuff. And he goes, I could almost tell when you were writing the naughty bits, because you were red as a beet. But basically, it's a journal of a serial killer. He's very sexually frustrated, so it's all about his fantasies and these dreams he's plagued with and stuff. So that's out, and I've had, because Hellbound Hearts, you know, I always thank Paul Hay, because that was, my husband's in the music business. He was, it's like you've been releasing singles before the album. So, because I had one, Sister Celeste was the first short story, then it was Uranophobia for Phobophobias, then it was American Mutant for Mutation Nation, and the most disgusting story I ever wrote was Polyp for the Mammoth Book of Body Horror. It's disgusting. So, and we got some more disgusting things. Nick and I have just done 2 stories. We're bookending the Demonologic.
Biblica, the Demonologia Biblica. It's taken me months to look at.
Yeah. And so, you know, more short stories. I'm thinking about a sequel to the Venus Complex because people have asked me about it. And got a vampire novel on the boil. I'm going to wait till the whole twinkly vampire thing has died down. And honestly, those vanilla vampires, yeah. And I'm working on a musical drama for stage and screen. So that's what
I was hoping to be doing some filming later this year. That's now being pushed back to next year. And big role, quite terrifying, really. So hopefully, it's like all these things, cross fingers, I hope that'll happen. As Barbie said, I've just published, well, it's quite some time now, I published a book of short stories called What Monsters Do. Again, good reviews, got 5 stars on Amazon, nothing but 5 stars, it's really nice. And I'm working on the 2nd volume, which is called Other People's Darkness. That was supposed to be out for Christmas. Will now be out at the end of May. You should be able to get that out by the end of May. And then, yeah, just writing bits and bobs, really. Demonologia Biblica. I'm sure something else recently as well. Demonologia Biblica. Oh yes, they're doing an annotated version of Cabal, the novella Cabal, where they've invited a lot of people who were involved either in the movie or the comics. Dan Chichester, who edited the comics, is written for it. And I've written a very honest account, X-rated account of my friendship with Clive and what it was like and how Chatra came to be and Kinski and what it was like to do all those things. So there's all sorts of things. I'm having fun, basically.
creating our own worlds of monster.
That's a nice closing sentence. Thank you very much for